thought, and she will give you a new understanding of literature. Everybody, please give her a Maui Live welcome. Mariah Young.
Well, thank you. That was a lovely introduction. Thank you, Mom. Hi. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Manny?
Yes.
Good. All right, I just wanted to make
You're
sure.
talking to me?
Yeah. I'm always talking to you. Let me see. So, I've got some poetry here, and I got some stuff from my book on one of my devices. And I'll just go ahead and read you some stuff. I think I'll start with some. This is actually the last poem that I wrote. It was like at Christmas time. We all do challenges for each other at Christmas. And I had to write a poem for why, which was an exceedingly difficult task, because what does one say to why? I mean, really. So this was for, I just titled it For Why. That night, in that country, it was New Year's. I thought it was an ordinary day, another day that ended in Y. Normally, the bar would be full, but the regulars were already drunk on plum liquor, and the seafarers, they were all out catting. And, well, it was New Year. So it was just me, the barkeep, and Garcia. I had seen him there before in the early hours of the morning, drinking tea with bobbing chrysanthemums and scribbling on papers in a language I hadn't read since I left the seminary. He was grizzled but spry, with dark ink dyeing his fingers, blue eyes twinkling like those bays in Micronesia, where the water's blue as glass, only come to meet your knees, but meet them there for miles out. In some other life, he had been a machinist, but now he draws maps. Paths into mountains, through and around valleys, marshes, bays, pig roosts and canopies, every rock and root and tree he knows. Spivey thought he was an old war horse from the New World. Madame Rousseau heard he was a prince in exile. The barkeep said he had walked every mile of shoreline in the archipelago, pebbling the horizon. Yam Yam, the fishmonger's boy, said Garcia could rise and float into the heavens to see the bend and curve of the world. I had no opinion on the man. I made it my business not to have opinions on people. Garcia and I were on the veranda. A seabird bent its legs backward and rested on his shoulder. The bar dogs lay at his feet. I was thinking about my Russian contact and his people in Peking. The villagers clanged pots and pans. The air was thick with smoke and red light. I asked Garcia to draw me a map. I didn't tell him the destination, and I could tell he wasn't a man about ending points. He leaned in and took a piece of paper from his pocket, stuffed it into my palm, and said, "Horizons are no such thing. They are only the outer, untouched edges of what we know and what we think we know." He held my wrist to warming and then pried my fingers back, and we watched the crumpled piece fly off and twirl once across the fat, full face of the moon. "There," he said, "go off and follow it."
That's El Foco.
That is
Very good.
Let me see. Well, here, this one almost goes. It's like since we're talking about the jungle. This is one I wrote, I think, when I was in undergrad, and I was reading a lot about Vietnam, and I was really fascinated by it. So I wrote this. It's called Marlowe. Marlowe is not like me. Marlowe is saved by the mission. It fills him with purpose, provides a clear and set path. I, although, am aimless. Lying in a hotel room in Saigon, I am adrift with my boots on, scotch in hand. His mission is the jungle. Bring extra ammo and extra booze, he says. Marlowe will ferry me there, servant that he is. Marlowe is crazy, but he needs the mission. He is empty without a use. My mission swirls in the dark water, pulses in the jungle night. In the deep of the jungle, the sounds lie atop each other. They take up your heart and claim its rhythm as its own. Marlowe says the jungle pulls men in, and I want to be taken. Let the darkness of the river swallow me whole. Let me fall into the eye of the moon. Let my blood rush and then subside as the tide along this river. Marlowe and I look out together. The water blackens, the sky closes up around us. I keep my gun ready, and Marlowe laughs at me. He takes a drag, cranes his neck, looking out into nothing. You take heart in nothing, he says, and exhales smoke. Marlowe is a warrior. He is ready to die. My heart in hand, I look out into that dark. Our way lies hidden, far in the dark parts of the earth where there is no light to shine. And when Marlowe dies, I will rise up, bury his heart in the jungle, deep in the earth, and I will lay it next to my own. Yeah, that was fun. I was really going through like an Apocalypse Now phase, so but it was fun to play. It was fun to write that way. So, how about? All right, so I was taking a class where I had to write sonnets, which drove me crazy for a little while, but I did get a couple good ones out of it. So here's a sultan I wrote, it's a sonnet that I wrote called Tuesday Afternoons at Mohammed's House. I feel like a sultana, the hookah spout hanging from my lips, reclining on Persian pillows, transfixed by the rotation of his hips. His torso and arms swivel about as his hands wind through the sweet blue smoke, drifting gently across the room. He hates to dance like he's supposed to, arms like brooms brushing up at the air, narrow hips locked in a simple box step. And he dances for me. He glows like Beirut at night, hot as desert air skirting the sands. Times like these, I swear, he looks through me, so enwrapped in the beat, he keeps spinning as the song fades and ends. I applaud and hail, and he arches, poised to dance again.
Woo, very nice.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. How about, all right, so, well, when I was in Riverside, my second year of going to school out there, there was like this intense fire season. And there were just fires all over Southland. And in Riverside, all the smoke just chokes everything there. And also in Hollywood, where I was living. So I was in a poetry workshop at the time. Oh, it's a beautiful sunset.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe we should get some of the sunset on the camera.
We could. You want to take charge?
No. And now we can
Nice
do a poem.
Nice silhouettes too. You got
Yeah.
those people with the group together and there, and the tree looks nice. We'll bring you
It
in.
actually doesn't,
It looks really nice from down here.
do
Guys
anything.
talking right in it.
Yeah, so back to...
If you're up, why don't you bring the camera closer?
Sure. I'll take a good.
The birds are...
The birds are
See.
talking early today.
Yeah. So yeah, I was right. So it was fire season, fiery like the sunset, and yeah. So I wrote a series of poems about just kind of being in the Southland during fire season. So I'll just read you two poems from that. This one's called Western at Santa Monica, 2:30 p.m. Even with the fires, it is not an unusual day. The air is just a bit thicker. The windows rattle in their cheap frames. A draft pushes in full of that black coffee smell and riles the steam on my drink. The Hollywood sign, usually startled white, nestles into the hills, its gossamer skirt of smog and dirt draping everything a gauzy brown gray. Pigeons battle to maintain their perches, not used to such competition from the wind. Skirts swirl around ankles, hat brims are held in place, bottles clink against drain gutters, insurance flyers and takeout menus writhe and flutter under windshield wipers. A lucky few work themselves free. From my window, I see the Helado man duck under the awning of a boarded-up house across the street. He shakes dust out of his collar. His bell rings incessantly. The wind tosses it against the handlebar of his still cart. Far above him, a pair of white tennis shoes wriggle against a gray sky smudged with smoke, suspended by laces from the black cord of an electric line, like a man who has just dropped through the hangman's box. The neck snap, the nerves click, the feet shuffle in an awkward, artless last dance.
Nice. That one's got a bit of a bite to it.
Yeah.
Look at the rope. It's Santa Ana. Get the sun every
day.
You don't see sunsets like that every day.
Oh, that's so great.
Wow.
That's great.
Beautiful. It's like a Saturn.
Yeah. Yeah.
The library's closed. We're out here. Oh, awesome.
All right. So actually, yeah. Actually, look at that, because that's what I was trying to achieve in this next little piece that I'll read for you.
Sun. Okay.
All right. So this one's called Remembering. In 1991, the sky over the Oakland Hills turned black. The sun was a wound in the sky, red as blood under a billowing oil curtain. Had the winds been blowing east instead of north, there would have been nothing left of my grandparents' house. We were all there. We had just gotten home from church. My grandparents did not want to leave, even when the power was cut. My uncles soaked the azaleas and orange trees with garden hoses. They threw buckets of water on the roof. I was wearing white gloves. I don't remember why, but there they are, in my memory, fuzzy white on my hands. It was my job to grab the pictures off the wall. Aunt Maga, Uncle Bob, Gammy, Zigna, black and white faces all smudged with my cotton-swabbed fingers, unsettling the dust that had long held harbor in the crooks of the frame. Ash drifted from farther up the hills. We all felt the ground getting hot. Driving down the long gravel road, guided by spitting road flares, I reached out the open window, and my cotton fingers pinched at the floating soot shreds, the remnants of houses whirling all around us. Let's see.
That was a big fire.
That was a big fire. I'll just leave the very last one of this sequence. It's called Breathing. Somewhere close by, there is a fire. I can taste it. Burnt chicken dropped on a dusty sidewalk. A barbecue, an engine backfiring. Last night's garbage can fire still smoldering in the alley. The wind wafts hot like waves from a furnace, not in gusts, but long pools that scrape against the ground. Brown leaves wait for it, a free ride on a slither of heat. Days like these, the dry spit taste feels painted on the back of your tongue. Look at that muted brown skyline, haze of smog and smoke. Your breath halts against your wishes, against the scrape of particles, hovering in the push of the chest, inspiration, expiration. Somewhere under our feet, there is a clock that winds itself. Okay. How am I doing?
Great.
Great job. Check it out. Alright. Fine.
Well,
You have competition though.
yeah.
I know, right?
Every once in a while they make so much noise
I
they
know.
have to move closer to you.
So, yeah, if I should speak up, let me know.
Speak up.
Alright then. So, okay, this one is, I wrote this a long time ago too. It's called The Most Famous Home Movie Ever Made. Can you hear me, Maddie?
A little louder.
Alright, thank you. Okay.
Title again.
It begins as the car rounds the corner. The pomp and ceremony typical. They wave and smile at the crowd, to each other. Maybe, as the car turned, his hand brushed across her knee. Perhaps her gloved hand touched his. But we don't see that last exchange, if that is what happened, if that is what took place. When the first shot rings out, she doesn't seem to react. He pauses, unwavering. The car pulls ahead. She noticed he has stopped smiling. His brow hardens as he looks around. It isn't until the second shot, when she sees his hands clasped to his throat, that she realizes the immensity of it all. We see and feel it like a drop in the chest, like the bullet sinking into us. She leans in not knowing, and the rest comes as a blur. The silent roar of bullets ripping the air, arms flailing all around her, and then the final shot that erupts out of him. She pulls back. It looks like the impact hits her with him. His blood and skull halo matches the round pink pillbox hat atop her head. He falls back, eyes up and open, and the worst for us is that final painful motion, the twist of her torso and gathering her husband's brain off the trunk of the car. The camera jolts up and down as the white gloves reach out. Pandemonium sets in silently. The last thing we see is her body, contorted over that dark blue space, her arms drawn out like our breath to gather what little she can. Do you have one for two more?
Oh, that's right. That was from the Gruder film.
Zapruder.
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 A short one.
One more? Okay. Alright. Alright. So, alright, yeah. This is hopefully happier. This one is called Luck Speaks. Luck with an L. Luck Speaks. I don't know what people think, but really, I don't make things happen. It's a common misconception that I engineer catastrophe, that I manufacture misfortune, that I delight in dashing dreams to dust. I am not so vicious, so calculating. This plane is nothing but contract work, and I'm no wage slave. Trust me, I'm a free agent. I stick my finger in every pie, not just joy or despair. I live at the intersection of chance and circumstance, and trust me, I'm always on the go. I ride shotgun on fate's shadow, cruising boulevards, and waiting in the reflection of windows, always looking for a place to step in and change things. Don't think you can call me out. I can't be summoned. Put away your rabbit foot. Nor will I be invoked. Light a candle to a saint for that. Flowers, medals, tears, knees bloody from crawling. If only that did it for me. Truth is, nothing pleases me. I have no tongue for sweets, no ears for prayers, no loyalties, and no sympathies. I'm old as the sun and everything under it. I have seen every combination, every complication, every variation on the theme of disaster and epiphany. And let me tell you, I've had my fill. But what gets me by is that flash that goes flush with the touch of my hand, the glimmer or slack of their eyes in my wake. I like to wait in corners and in the soles of shoes, and I never pounce. I never rush after anyone. I rise like moist air or a familiar song. I slide around fingers and I snake up pant legs and flicker in your iris at the front door of a dark house left open, the icy swig at the bottom of the glass, the highway off-ramp illuminated in high beams, a sideways glance that lingers unexpectedly. You won't see me, but trust me, honey, I'm there.
Did you read that to your students at one time? I think they would love it.
Do you read your stuff?